The world is a vampire.
Coming to you straight from a Carolina football tailgate party in the heart of the southern part of heaven. From the independent voice of UNC Sports, covering everything from Amos to Zwicker, this is Inside Carolina Live. And now the hosts of Inside Carolina Live, Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell.
Welcome in. It is Inside Carolina Live. Joey Powell right there. If you're joining us on the YouTube stream, we've got two cameras. Dose. Fancy. Check this out. If you're on the YouTube stream,
we got this view.
And
you got the parking lot view. See, if you want to see the back of Tommy's head, that's a better shot.
Yeah, I got a big head. I'll stay out of the way. Little man, you are live on candid camera.
Can we talk about this Chamber of Commerce freaking day we got out here?
Yeah, I think we're not doing that one. Joey, last week we were in a monsoon.
We were.
And we were in the parking deck over there to our left.
Correct.
And I'm not sure who structurally built that, but you would think the water should go out of the deck, not into the deck.
Hey, we're not an engineering school, bro.
And absolutely. And today it is. I don't think I see a cloud.
Not a single one. I mean, if you wanted to make the old Woody reference about today the sky is Carolina blue, literally it's not any better than today. I don't know that I can match Pantones, but it's pretty freaking close.
It is absolutely perfect in the Bowls lot. Filling up a little bit. Not as crowded as it needs to be. North Carolina fans need to get out here.
I'll tell you who is here. The Gophers are here.
The Gophers are here.
Minnesota is deep today.
We spent about 10 minutes earlier talking to a couple of Minnesota guys, and they invited us up to Minneapolis next year.
Yeah, we got somewhere to go now. So go ahead and start planning the show.
Labor Day weekend. Plan your trips accordingly.
I'll be real. I would love to have a Labor Day somewhere where it's not hotter than the devil's butt crack, and I assume that Minnesota will be that.
If you're listening to this on Inside Carolina via Inside Carolina, we had Ryan Burns of Gopher Illustrated on there. He said it was 89 degrees that day,
which is apparently hot for them.
That is hot for them. Yeah. And when you're But anyway, there's a big football game today, right up the hill in Kenan Stadium.
Man, it is a big day. It's going to be a big environment. The game is sold out, and again, as I mentioned, I don't know if it's 7,500 people, but there is more Gophers here today than 300 Caddyshack movies, and I'll tell you that right now. Tommy, we talked about last week. Would we know any more about the North Carolina Tar Heels after the game was over? And we felt like we did. And I don't know that we do. What about last week makes you feel like we understand this team more than we did going into last week?
Last week, I don't know if we got anything from that. You've got an emotional game on Labor Day weekend in Charlotte against South Carolina, a game that this team desperately needed to win. You follow that up with a rivalry game that I still don't believe that North Carolina players and maybe coaches fully grasp how bad App State wants to beat North Carolina.
How is that hard to figure out now? Considering they won here in 19, they took North Carolina to the freaking limit last year in Boone. I mean, how has that not reached? How's not broken through yet?
I don't know, but either App State's really good or North Carolina does not get up for them as much. And now you have a Minnesota team coming that is your quote-unquote Big Ten school. This is the game, and Greg Barnes said it best, and you can never go wrong quoting Greg Barnes on anything. He said the next 2 weeks will tell us all we need to know about North Carolina and North Carolina's defense. And here we are.
Well, listen, I've heard quite a bit about the Greek Rifle this week. That is all-time top 10 nickname. Cadillac Mantis or whatever his name is. Cataract Mantle.
I'm naming it.
Greek Rifle. The kid's got an amazing nickname. It's the Minnesota defense definitely comes with quite a bit of panache about it. It's definitely going to be the best defense North Carolina's seen this year, and I have no idea how this is going to play out. But I know one thing: if Carolina does not bring their A game today, it is going to be a long afternoon in Kenan Stadium.
Marcus, you need to show the folks.
Marcus Ginyard rolling by, showing off his championship ring. not many people have those, and so he just happens to have his and wants to put it up on the camera. I would do the same thing if I were a national champion.
It is it's kind of bright out here. It's kind of blinding.
Yeah.
I need some cataract surgery now.
Man, stretching like this. Let me get that ring in front of you.
He is certainly driving around. So Tar Heel Tailgate across the way. Appreciate it, Marcus. Y'all boys be safe. Joey, we talk a lot about North Carolina football. We talk about how they want to get to the next level. By the way, check those shoes.
Oh yeah. So they actually just re-released those 9s. You might remember those from a Jordan ad in I can't remember when it was, but it's like an old Jordan Sports Illustrated ad where he's wearing the Stackhouse era uniforms, but he's got those shoes on. They just re-released them and they're amazing.
Look at there. I got them on the camera.
Look at you.
I'm a producer now.
So yeah, Tommy's officially given up co-hosting duties. He is now just full on producing. I mentioned earlier, if North Carolina can't defend today and make Callie McManus a legitimate Heisman contender and legitimate offensive threat, I don't know how they win this ballgame. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just
you are negative.
It's good against good.
You have assumed my mantle.
Well, somebody's got to be the end of your game.
Pessimist. I think North Carolina. Here's what I want to see from North Carolina right out the gate, and a lot of people are in the chat talking about it. North Carolina needs to prove that they can come out hot and do it immediately, not wait, not get warmed up, not get loosened up, come out hot. I don't care whether they, win the toss, lose the toss.
No, just strike first.
Strike first.
Just strike first. And so Taylor made a great point about this. Taylor Ripless, all of you listening to the show likely know who Vip is. Vip does his weekly rundown on Fridays before a game, and he made the same comment that North Carolina needs to strike first. It's one of those deals where if you can get a team on their heels, and a team like Minnesota who wants to grind you to death, they want to run the ball, they want to manage the clock, they want to be defensive on both sides of the ball. I'm going to talk to Staples about that in a little bit. Minnesota wants to take control of defense, but they want to defend by playing offense. And if North Carolina can kind of find a way to get a lead today to maybe put Minnesota off kilter, that would certainly work in their favor. I don't think you're going to be able to see I would take your chances. Let me rephrase that. I would take their chances putting the Greek Rifle into a position where he has to make plays. If you leave it up to Minnesota having a chance to just grind you to death and run the football, it's going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at last week, right? App State was able to gash North Carolina running the ball.
Absolutely.
2 weeks ago, South Carolina couldn't get out of their own backfield.
And this offensive line they're going to see today is miles larger than what Appalachian State brought. I mean, every single one of these freaks is 6'5", 310 or some change. I'm assuming it's what they do in Gopher Country is they feed you walleye and corn, and assume that you're going to grow into an offensive lineman, and that's
walleye and corn.
Walleye and corn. I don't know if that's a real thing in Minnesota, but I'm assuming.
Look. I just want folks to, if you're watching on the YouTube chat, this is why we need to get Carolina folks out here. We've got.
I told you the Gophers are deep today, man.
Dudes travel. We're sporting the jersey and the
Minnesota
colors.
Minnesota is absolutely. What in the name of Marion Barber? What? Turn around. Okay. All right.
NFL guy.
So if you don't know now, you'll know by the end of the game.
Fair enough.
Uh-oh.
All right. So
it's been very cordial thus far. He just laid.
Tyler Nubin. Okay, we've been told that Tyler Nubin is the guy. So those of you listening to the show today, go lay all of your odds on Tyler Nubin right now if you can find a side prop bet. I'm not telling you which way to go. But prepare for Tyler Nubin. And I'm a Bucs fan, so I love some Antoine Winfield. So listen, we've got North Carolina right now that needs to just beat somebody, Tommy. I mean, they played South Carolina better than they ended. They look like garbage. Well, I don't want to say they look like garbage, but they struggled to beat Appalachian State. I'd love for North Carolina to actually just play to the odds. I'd love for North Carolina to play to the spread for once in their life, and that's been a complaint that a lot of IC subscribers and North Carolina fans have beefed about, is that Mac Brown just can't beat who he's supposed to beat the way he's supposed to beat them. And I don't know they're supposed to beat Minnesota, but a 7.5 point favorite, you would think that they should be able to win instead of taking it to overtime against a team that were 17.5 points favored against last week against App.
That's the thing, right? Come out strong, play. Don't play to the level of competition. Play to the standard. We hear about that all the time from teams across the way.
Well, that's something that Mac has instilled in this team is play to our standard.
Has he instilled it?
That's a good question.
And that's what I think games like this week, games like next week at Pitt, we'll say, because Minnesota doesn't care. Appreciate it, guys. Minnesota and the Gophers don't care about North Carolina's standard.
No.
PJ Fleck and his team are going to come out and play the way they want to play. North Carolina, if they play as they're supposed to over the last several years, given the talent that's on this roster, given the talent disparity that they see in most of the games, then North Carolina's fine. That's the issue, and that's what we'll see today.
Can I gas you up a little bit?
If you want to.
So think about last week. What was one of the things that you felt like North Carolina had to hang their hat on to win that ball game convincingly last week? I'll give you a hint. It involves yellow flags. Last week, North Carolina needed to play a clean game with minimal, if any, penalties. They had penalties kill multiple drives last week, both on offense and defense. You were going in to score and you got a block in the back. You had a face mask when you had them down, fourth down, ready to kick from like the 3, inside the 5 anyway. Minnesota's a team that does not get penalized. They're clean. They play the way they want to play, and they do so very methodically. And that's tough for a team like North Carolina, who hasn't really been able to achieve that sort of identity, right? And so I'm not saying North Carolina has to be as clean as Minnesota today, but you can't have drives that are killed by penalties. You can't have points taken off the board by penalties. Not against a team that's not going to beat themselves.
That's exactly right. If you listen to Minnesota's press conferences all week and all year, they pride themselves on playing detail-oriented football and not making mistakes. And I believe the stat is they've committed 2.5 penalties a game this year.
That's only 2. Yeah, that's ridiculous. You can almost back into 3 penalties.
Yeah, exactly. And that's across the board. That's pre-snap. That's a hold. That's a defensive play.
Special teams, you name it.
And the thing is, though, is you cannot allow those guys to get comfortable. And North Carolina, to your point, has to be a clean and consistent football team today, but they cannot make the dumb mistakes that they've done. You cannot have a hold on 3rd and 12 at the 3-yard line. You cannot have a defensive hold in the backfield where the ball's not even going that way.
You're getting off the field.
Yes.
It was that play was 40 yards away from where the ball ended up.
Yeah. And we'll talk to Jeremiah about it when he joins us. But North Carolina needs to be the team, the clean team today.
Yeah.
And if you want to see a quick ball game, with the clock rules and all that, don't have any penalties and see a lot of running ball, and you'll be out of here by 5:30.
Get behind 2 scores against a team that likes to suck the life out of the arena. The funny thing is, North Carolina fans have always bagged on UVA and how UVA plays basketball, and to an extent, you see it a little bit with Wisconsin and some other programs. It's kind of like that with Minnesota. They are content to run the ball. They are content to have 6 total possessions between the teams in the first half. They are content to let their defense do the work and just get off the field. And that's where again, if North Carolina cannot take advantage of their offensive possessions today, and if they can't make their being Minnesota, if they can't make Minnesota's defense pay when they do have their opportunities, it's going to be tough sledding. Now that being said, I do think this is a game of good on good. I do think this is Minnesota's defense, who you can question whether or not they've been tested this year, and you can also state that North Carolina has a quarterback in Drake May that hasn't had to be Drake May yet. So it is good versus good, and I do like the team with the better quarterback in that situation. But I also think that it's one of those where North Carolina cannot take the size or the consistency of this Big Ten team lightly.
Play clean, period. And in fairness, and folks are listening to this, I'm trying to figure out the echo issue on the YouTube stream. I've had reports that the video cameras are working well and all, but there is a little bit of audio echo, so we're working on that. But when this North Carolina team is going to be undersized against this Minnesota team, but that doesn't matter, right?
No. You're both Division I teams.
You think Kamen Rucker cares about being undersized?
Kamen Rucker probably likes being undersized.
Yeah, you think think Willie Lampkin cares about being undersized?
Willie Lampkin loves being undersized.
I mean, the thing is that the size will not be the issue here. I think what we talked about all in the lead up, and we'll get into it more as we go on, is North Carolina needs to play a good, clean football game. I'm tired of hearing about discipline. I'm tired of hearing about the ability to be detail-oriented and blah, blah, blah. They need to do it.
Methodology.
Because if they don't do it today, they're going to tote an L going into ACC play, going to Pittsburgh.
Well, and the funny thing is that coincidentally, the way this game lines up between Minnesota and then going at Pittsburgh, those teams are probably as similar as any two teams on Carolina's schedule.
Yes.
So, I mean, when you just consider, the size of both lines, when you consider the way Pittsburgh likes to play ball on offense, the way they like to rely on their defense, I mean, there are some similarities between both of these games. Tommy, I've got something really, really important I need to announce.
Yes.
Can I make that announcement here? I really just want to say happy birthday to my mama. It's my mom's birthday. They just got back from New England and up there spending our inheritance, enjoying themselves, which they're good to do.
What do you really?
Because I know she's listening.
I'm gonna shout out to my kids over there. I'm gonna spend every bit of it.
Oh, and they probably will too. If my dad had his way, the last check he writes before he kicks the bucket will bounce. And I respect that. But anyway, shout out to my mama. It's her birthday today. I know she's listening. Mama, love you.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, I had to remember it.
You are decent. You are decent.
Go ahead. There you go.
I was going to say,
I know it hurt you to say that.
You're not totally about Joey.
I know it hurt you to say that. All right, well, tell you what I am about is laying this show out so folks know before we hit this break, all right? We're going to have Jeremiah Holloway. You heard him last week. The recent addition to North Carolina, or the Inside Carolina staff, North Carolina beat reporter for us. He does a great job. We loved having him last week, so we figured we'd bring him back, especially since he rode here in a canoe last week to get through the rain. We'll have Jeremiah right after this break. We'll talk to Jason Staples at the bottom of the first hour. Then top of the second hour, we were like, hey, Drake May set a lot of quarterback records. Why don't we talk to another guy that holds a lot of quarterback records at Carolina?
And it's a hint, Double D.
Double D. So we'll have him right at the top of the second hour. We'll have the IC takeover in segment 5. So if you are in the video chat right now, or if you're online and listening to us and want to hit us some questions on Twitter, feel free. We'll take the best ones in the second half and maybe even give away some Johnny T-shirt gift card. We'll make sure we take care of you. On Twitter, it's at Inside Carolina, at T Ashley IC, or at Joey_Powell. And then again, if you're on the YouTube stream and watching how beautiful it looks out here today, drop us some good questions. We'll take the best ones. But for now, we're going to hit a break. Show's off and running. We want to see you come out here in the bowl slide. You could not ask for a more beautiful day out here. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
It is.
Tommy Ashley, I'm Joey Powell. Shout out to AJ on site handling things. We'll be right back with Jeremiah Holloway. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
I'm Shaquille Rashad, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill.
If you're more than someone who just checks the scores, I want to introduce you to the place for Tar Heel sports, discussion, analysis, and breaking news. Inside Carolina has been the center of the Tar Heel sporting universe for over 20 years, with a team of the best UNC sports reporters around, unrivaled insight, and a vast message board community for round-the-clock discussion with other Tar Heel fans. Your game day begins and ends with InsideCarolina.com.
Hey, Jack. Hey, Lee. So Oma's Jewelers was born here in Chapel Hill 4 years ago, and I've been thinking, oh dear, hear me out. It's going to be fun. I think Oma's Jewelers in Eastgate Shopping Center has many of the same characteristics as Chapel Hill.
Such as?
We're small and welcoming.
True. Oh, I have one. We love Carolina Blue and have the gemstones to prove it.
Good one. At Oma's, we celebrate artists and showcase unique and talented designers.
And we are very popular around wedding season.
See? I told you this was going to be fun.
Oma's Jewelers. The name means diamonds. Let's engage. Online at omasjewelers.com.
For Dana Wicker-Cantrell of Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry, and Walston, time with clients is time well spent.
When I'm working with someone, they are the priority. No matter what time of day or what day it is, I'm available to them. My most favorite thing is when a client calls me back. Having someone trust you enough to work with you, there's no greater compliment. My biggest buzz is getting the deal.
For more information, go to DanaCantrellRealty.com.
This is Carolina head coach Mac Brown. Our football team gets the best preparation the night before home games at our home away from home, the new Sheridan, Chapel Hill. From comfortable rooms to flexible meeting space, more than 100 players and coaches rest, gather for nutritious meals, and break out in smaller spaces for final game planning and walkthroughs. The Sheridan staff takes care of every detail. Make your home away from home the new Sheridan, Chapel Hill, the preferred hotel and meeting space for all Tar Heels.
Hey Carolina fans, Cedric Gray, All-American linebacker for the Tar Heels here to talk about All About Insurance Cover 2 defense, where they cover your car and your home to save you money. I love the Cover 2 because I know my ride and my house are covered by AAI. As an independent agency, they can find the best coverage for me. That's All-American coverage from All About Insurance. They know all about insurance so you don't have to. Visit allaboutinsurance.com today for your Cover 2.
Basketball season is right around the corner, so we're giving you the chance to win a trip to New York City to watch the Tar Heels take on the defending national champions, UConn, at Madison Square Garden in December. Enter at each supporting location every week for a better chance to become a finalist and be invited to a party at the Carolina Inn, featuring a special guest. Stay tuned for more details on how you can win a holiday with the Heels on your flagship station for Tar Heel Sports, 97.9 The Hill.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Shout out to Kenny back in the studio, pressing buttons. So good, so bad. So we appreciate Kenny being here, making things work. We have got a little newness on the mic. I told you we were going to have Jeremiah Holloway here in a second. But Tommy also farmed it out to an intern. Tommy's like, hey, I got tailgating to do. We're handing this over and let the young man get some shine. We'll let the young man shine. We're trying to build depth here. And so he's allowed us to have this segment be Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, and Evan Rogers is joining us. You have seen his work. Evan also has hit the ground running here at Inside Carolina, and Jeremiah has kind of had him attached to the hip. So he's been teaching him the way of the world and teaching him how to handle things. And we love to have both these guys here. Boys, big game today. We talked about in the first segment. The first thing I'm going to throw at both of you, and Jeremiah, I'll come to you first. Do you sense any frustration from the staff from last week? Because anytime you go into a game against a team that Tommy and I talked about is a rival and is going to bring it for you, North Carolina got as high as a 19.5-point favorite and then had to use overtime to win. Did you sense any frustration this week being around the Kingdom Football Center that the staff or the players were frustrated?
I'm not going to lie. I did sense a little bit. I think there was just a little bit of a expectation that, maybe it wouldn't be as, obviously both of the times that App State has played North Carolina, yes, it did get crazy and
Absolutely.
things like that. But I think they thought, maybe this time around would be a little bit different. I think you heard a little bit of them saying, during the week and even just after the game, like, we didn't execute well enough, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I definitely sensed a little bit. I don't think it was, an extreme amount. But you could tell they were expecting, a little bit more what they got in South Carolina, not necessarily the numbers, but just a little bit from the execution and getting more pressure on the quarterback, bringing him down at least once. They didn't bring him down at all. They did get an interception. I think they were pleased with that. But I think they expected just a little bit more.
Yeah.
They didn't expect to give up 34 points. I don't think they expected, App State to control the line as they did. They knew that it would be definitely a ground game, but I think they probably thought that there would be – they didn't expect probably 34. They probably thought, maybe it'd be a little less than that, maybe half of that.
Well, and good on App State for having a game plan that allowed Joey Aguiar to get the ball out quickly. I don't know that Minnesota's going to give North Carolina those opportunities today. Evan, I'm going to ask you, do you have an idea as to how Chip Lindsey and the offensive line are going to game plan against clearly the best defense they've ever seen, but also against a team that hangs their hat on their defense? They hang their hat on their defense and their offensive line. So can you get a sense as to how Chip Lindsey and Drake May and basically any of the offensive coaches might approach this game today?
Yeah, I think they almost have to take a different reverse mindset, kind of how these first 2 weeks they've really established the run, both with, Amari Hampton last week going for 230 plus. British Brooks in his first game back week 1 going for over 100. And they've been really successful with that. But today, like you mentioned, they're going to face against the best defense they've had all year and one of the better defensive lines they're going to face throughout the entire season. So I think it's going to be important for them to kind of establish the pass game, which is kind of weird to say when you've got a quarterback like Drake May.
But it's legit. That's a legit point.
But it's certainly something they're going to have to look into, whether it is kind of going with the 5-yard dink and dunks, which they seem to be pretty comfortable with. But I also think they're going to have to test Minnesota vertically.
Yeah.
Whether that's Gavin Blackwell or J.J. Jones or maybe Nate McCollum getting active today deep down the field. They're going to have to find a way to stretch out this Minnesota defense because I don't think there's a way that they're going to have. And I could be wrong with this, but I would be very surprised if a running back rushed for 230 yards against a Big Ten defensive front.
Yeah, that's absolutely tall sledding, and that's a Big Ten reference. I get it, Minnesota sledding. I would like to stay there for a second though, because we talked about Minnesota's defense specifically. Their secondary is a bunch of dudes. Like they've got guys that there's 2 guys in that secondary that are probably going to be NFL draft picks, if not this coming year, very soon. How can Drake go from a game last week where he wanted to hand the ball off? He talked about checking out of like 8 or 9 plays because he liked the defense giving them your running lanes. Jeremiah, how can Drake go from that to coming up against the defense today where they're probably going to try to test Drake? I mean, he showed last year that he is that dude when you test him. I don't know that he's had to be pressed that way this year yet. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, to Evan's point a second ago, I don't know that they have, without Tez Walker, that deep threat. He was asked about that earlier this week.
Yeah.
So in your mind, how can North Carolina, without a traditional deep threat like Tez Walker, come in against a team that has a good secondary and expect to be prosperous?
Well, honestly, that's probably where the short passing game helps you. I think we've seen a lot of the short passing game in both of these first 2 games. Particularly last week, I think we were probably expecting them to open up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Nate McCollum was still a little bit limited, and obviously Tez didn't play and things like that. They have guys to me that are capable. I think Kobe Paysour probably most so.
And Drake admitted he's missed him a couple times.
He's missed a couple times. I mean, Blackwell's had a couple of opportunities. They got JJ for 57 yards last week. Mm-hmm. They just need a guy that's really consistent. I think Kobe can be that guy again, but they need kind of that consistency. I think this is also a game where you work the tight ends a little bit more if you can. We'll see if John Copenhaver comes out there with that club on his hand again. But you still have Nesbitt and you still have Morales. So I think they still have some options, if they want to get something going in the passing game. It might not be a ton of 20-plus yard attempts, but I think you have some guys that you can kind of go to if you want to go aerial. Again, this is going to be another one where you want to be as balanced as you possibly can. We'll see how exactly the run game, like Evan said, you're probably not going to get another 230. Maybe
right.
We'll see if you get a 100, for sure. But I think there's, definitely some options depending on the types of plays that they call and who some of those guys that they look for.
Evan, Nate McCollum being able to play at full strength this week, which it sounds like he is, what can he do for this offense that maybe we haven't seen so far this year?
He's kind of a Josh Downs mold in his size. He's a little bit more bigger, not as twitchy. I think the interesting thing with McCollum is if you get a healthy McCollum, you can almost push Kobe Paysour outside, which I think he had a lot of success with. The deep touchdown that he caught against South Carolina was kind of a double move he hit there on the outside. So it's really more of if you can have Nate McCollum slide into the slot and do a good job there, you have more options on the outside when you get to move Paysour out there, who up to this point has seemed like the most consistent guy at wideout for UNC.
Yeah, and then real quick, just going off of that point, I'm a little bit surprised they haven't put Paysour on the outside just a little bit more. I understand Nate McCollum has been out/limited, but I thought they would be, they would do like a little bit more of that. Gavin Blackwell actually is leading all wide receivers on UNC in snaps. Currently that just kind of goes to show that they've been just kind of using guys, where they can. I think they feel like Paysour right now has been probably the most effective in the slot, and so they can get Nate McCollum, who they really brought in to be that slot guy. Right. But if Nate McCollum is full go, like Evan was saying, you could really put him there and let Kobe be on the outside a little bit more.
Let's flip over to the other side of the ball a little bit. We talked in the first segment about the importance of striking first, but I think this is also important where North Carolina's defense is going to have to pressure Cali McManus into some bad decisions. Like you would like to see, maybe you don't get the same North Carolina defense that had Spencer Rattler running for his ever-loving life, but if you can have some things to maybe confuse the Greek rifle or make him a little unsettled early, he showed against Nebraska that he might not be ready for prime time yet. What's something North Carolina can do defensively maybe to either make him uncomfortable or at least give their defense a chance to get off the field and let the offense do their work?
Yeah, well, I was actually watching the Game Plan podcast with obviously Tommy and Greg, and they were bringing up the point that he actually has better kind of advanced stats when he's pressured.
When he's under pressure,
which is really not common, at all. So
the world is upside down, my man.
Absolutely. So I think one of the things you have to do is really just kind of take away the guys that he's trying to get the ball to, just as much as you're trying to, bring pressure on him. Because honestly, if you let Minnesota, they'll hold you to 1 or 2 possessions.
They're fine with that.
Yeah,
they want that.
Yeah, they'll sit there all day and let the clock run, especially with the new rules that lets it go after. They'll let the clock run, all day long if you let them. So I think really you're just going to have to force them into making mistakes, maybe try to take away some, and you're really going to have to be able to force turnovers. They had some more opportunities last week with a couple of the fumbles that they weren't able to kind of
get
jump
off the ground.
on.
You're right.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, situations like that you just have to take advantage of. Get as many extra possessions as you can. Because if not, there won't be many possessions in this game.
Evan, do you think it comes down to things as simple as turnovers, or can North Carolina maybe make some hay with a fourth down, with a fourth down stop or something like that, or does it have to just can they do it by getting the most out of their offensive possessions, right? Like, if they get 6 offensive possessions and score 6 times, you got to like their chances, right?
Right. No, I think an interesting thing, especially from last week's game, I think it wasn't until maybe the fourth quarter that UNC defense forced a 3-and-out. So I think today something that's going to be interesting to see with this defense is how do they look early on in possessions? Because obviously Gene Chizik has the mantra, the bend don't break, and they showed that at times last week, forcing App State to that field goal there at the end. But today it's going to be interesting to see, can you get Minnesota to a 3-and-out? Because if you don't, Minnesota's a team that's going to run the ball, shoot 15 to 20 plays a possession and really grind it out. And by the fourth quarter, is your defense going to be, healthy or full strength to get through another grinding quarter if it does come to that point and it's a close game? I don't know. So it's going to be really interesting early on in this game to see if UNC's defense is going to be able to force some early 3-and-outs to really allow their offense to kind of get in a groove, but also just preserve the defense against a team that wants to have the ball for twice as much as its opponent does.
Did you guys get the sense this week that maybe North Carolina's defensive line got a little frustrated last week against Appalachian? I asked you earlier if you felt like the coaches were frustrated, but also I think the D-line looked so good against South Carolina, and part of that's because South Carolina's O-line was a bunch of turnstiles, right? I get that. But did you get the sense from the front four on the defense that maybe they felt like they left some things out there last week?
Yeah, well, they got
pressure without getting sacks, right?
Yeah.
So do you think they might try to change some things up this week, or is it just more of the same and then assume that Minnesota's not going to have as many quick passes?
Right, and see, if there is frustration, that's where a lot of it kind of comes from, the fact you did get pressure and didn't get sacked. So we had Cedric Gray after the game, and we had Dez during the week, and Dez Evans was saying, really the main point is to get the quarterback off balance, to, force him into doing things he doesn't want to do. And he was saying, yes, we want to get sacks, but also if we're able to really disrupt him, that's the goal at the end of the day. And then I think from Cedric Gray, he acknowledged, and Des did too, but he acknowledged that, there were plenty of things that they probably didn't do as well as they wanted to from the standpoint of, even the run defense.
Right.
App State was really able to do what they wanted to do from the run. So I think when you look at those two factors, that's something that definitely UNC came away with probably a little bit disappointed in. They were able to make some of the stops that they wanted to at the times that they did. But I think one thing that gives them the advantage now, they basically, the game they're going to play today, they essentially played it last week from a game plan standpoint.
Right.
App State's going to, tendency-wise, do a lot of the same things.
A 19-play drive.
Exactly.
Minnesota would love that.
Yeah, Minnesota would love that. If Minnesota gets there, maybe they get more than one. I don't know. But, so I think there was definitely a little bit. But, I think what gives UNC advantage, again, is the fact that they did play a team with a similar style. So, you have a little bit of a demo in that sense.
Sure. Evan, give me one guy that could be a difference maker today on defense for North Carolina, and why?
I'm going to go with Miles Murphy.
Okay.
It's a guy that last year was hurt a lot, kind of struggled with injuries, and it seems like he's fully back healthy. Had Tim Cross talk about how he seems like he's healthy this week. And when you go against a team in Minnesota that, like App State, is going to want to ground and pound their way down the field, I think your interior defensive linemen are really going to have to show up big today. Jeremiah said last week they kind of got the blueprint today, and I'm interested to see, did that pay off today? Because obviously today's offensive line is a lot bigger than App State's. Colossal human beings up there.
Massive, island-sized dudes.
So I think Miles Murphy, maybe Kevin Hester as well. I kind of cheated there taking 2 guys. But I think any guys on the interior defensive line for UNC are going to have to show up today in order for UNC's defense to kind of flip the script of what they showed last week.
Just a massive offensive line. It's 2 6'7s, 2 6'5s, and a 6'6", if I remember correctly. That is a ridiculous line.
So, hey, I'm going to go take the small one. and he's still 6'5",
Seriously.
3 bills.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be, again, for those who are watching the game or if you're going to be at Kenan Stadium today, just sit back and marvel at how large these humans are for the Minnesota offensive line. All right, Jeremiah, I'm going to ask you the same question. We'll flip the side. Who's going to be the playmaker for UNC's offense so they can actually determine or hinge the way this game goes?
Honestly,
don't say Drake. I'm taking Drake.
I'm not going to take Drake. I will go ahead and say Pacor. I know I brought him up a little bit. I'm going to switch. I'm going to say Nate. I'm going to say Nate McCollum because this is going to be his first real full game, at least we're expecting it to be. So we'll see how different. You have to understand, UNC brought in Tez Walker and Nate McCollum to essentially be, the two
1 and 2
main guys, the 1 and 2. You practiced all, spring with them. You practiced all fall with them with the expectation that they'd be the 1 and the 2. So now we'll have to see how, at least your 2, who's maybe now your 1, we'll have to see how he, kind of changes the offense. Like, it'll really look like a different offense if he's going to be able to do the things that they expect him to do. So I'm going to say Nate McCollum just because I think the offense is just going to look a lot different as long as everything goes according to plan.
I know North Carolina fans would love to see what they've heard about Nate McCollum.
For sure.
I mean, I think, obviously we saw it at Georgia Tech, but I think a lot of folks would like to see him do it on the field. And you got a little flash last week, but it was just like a little and they took it away from him, right? Yeah. I think he would absolutely stretch the field horizontally for North Carolina and takes some of that pressure off of the offensive line, make Minnesota play a little wider. They obviously want to condense the field too. Boys, I'm not going to put you on the spot for a prediction, but if you feel froggy to make one before we get out of here, fire away. If not, we're just going to have dead air for a couple of seconds. I'll let that roll.
You want me to go first?
If you want.
I'm going to go, what did I tell someone earlier? I think I said 24-17 UNC. I think the over-under for this game is set around 50 or some odd, so smash the under for this game. I think UNC does enough offensively to counter the deficiencies that Minnesota has offensively to squeak one out at home and head into ACC play undefeated.
All right. I like the sound of that. I'm sure the folks in light blue like the sound of that. Jeremiah, you want to make one, or are you good? Or are you gonna go full Herb Street and say I'm covering the game? I can't make it.
I would like to. You know what? The only reason I'm gonna say one is because I was asked to make one for the with me and Ryan Burns. We did like a little bit of a Q&A, so I was asked to do a score prediction.
All right.
I usually don't love the score predictions, but I said 27-14 UNC. Reason being, Minnesota's defense is absolutely, we know what it is. Yeah. Their offense this year hasn't lit up the world quite yet. So I'm expecting a slow game. It'll go 4 quarters. The 27 is really just,
That's such an NFL score.
Yeah, something
something
random's going to happen in the 4th quarter probably. It'll be a close game. The game will probably be closer than 27-14, but I think I'm just throwing that out there, and I said it, so I have to stick by it.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to come hunting you if it goes one way or another, but I appreciate your willingness to go on the record here. Yeah. All right, boys, head on up to the press box, get yourself some grub up there, and we'll certainly look forward to your coverage later today and on into tomorrow. Evan Rogers and Jeremiah Holloway joining us here. IC intern and beat writer extraordinaire. We appreciate him making time for us here on Inside Carolina Live. Take a quick break. We'll be right back with Jason Staples. Do a little X&O talk if you feel like getting into that. If you haven't seen Staples' breakdowns from this week, you got time before kickoff to check them out. But he did some really good video breakdowns of how UNC was defending 3rd and long situations. And we'd love to see that improve a little bit today against Minnesota. I'm Joey Powell. Tommy Ashley still around here. We'll be right back with more Inside Carolina Live from the Bowls lot in Chapel Hill. You're listening to 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is Ryan Taylor, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
New Hope Church offers so much more than just Sunday services. Hey Tar Heels, I'm Adam Bishop, senior pastor here to share about all the ways you can connect in community and make new friends regardless of whatever season you're life in. Maybe you're a new parent, maybe you've got elementary age students, maybe you're a college student, a young professional, empty nester. We have multiple ways for you to connect and make friends with people who are in the same season of life. And here's the good news. There are a variety of options to fit whatever your busy schedule may look like. So check out our website, newhopechurch.org, to see all of these group opportunities for you to both make new friends and experience hope.
Hello, friends. This is Mark Pons from Chapel Hill Tire. A clean car is a happy car. That's why we offer expert car wash and detailing service. And with our new mobile car wash app, we will come to your home or office and give you an expert car cleaning while you continue on with your day. It's so easy. Download the Chapel Hill Tire Car Wash app on Google Play or the Apple App Store to schedule your mobile car wash service. We'll have you driving happy and clean, Chapel Hill.
Mac Orthodontics is in the business of making people smile with confidence. Here's Melissa, a happy patient with more.
I was basically his very first patient when he opened up his own practice. He's not just a great orthodontist, he's a great human. I'm not ashamed to smile anymore. I smile everywhere, and everybody all the time says, "Oh, your teeth are beautiful. You have a beautiful smile." I'm like, "Go see Dr. Mac. Go see Dr. Mac." All the time.
Mac Orthodontics in Hillsborough and Burlington. Start loving your smile. Learn more at macortho.com.
Hey Carolina fans, Cedric Gray, All-American linebacker for the Tar Heels here to talk about All About Insurance Cover 2 Defense, where they cover your car and your home to save you money. I love the Cover 2 because I know my ride and my house are covered by AAI. As an independent agency, they can find the best coverage for me. That's All-American coverage from All About Insurance. They know all about insurance, so you don't have to. Visit allaboutinsurance.com today for your Cover 2.
Here at Bold Commercial Real Estate, we help you find the perfect spot and negotiate great lease terms for your new business. But we don't stop there. I'm Lou, the Bold team member who has owned and operated restaurants and retail businesses for more than a decade. I can help with the details specific to this industry, ranging from ABC permits to hiring staff and everything in between. So get in touch with us. Go to boldcre.com.
Hello, Tar Heels. This is Pete Chilcutt. I played on championship teams for Coach Dean Smith, and now I've partnered with former teammate Jeff Denny to build another winning team at Generator Supercenter, serving you in the Chapel Hill, Chatham, and Durham area with the #1 residential installer for Generac in North America. We offer sales, installation, and service with a Generac whole home backup generator so your power will never go out. Go to GeneratorSuperCenterOfTheTriangle.com for the game plan. That's GeneratorSuperCenterOfTheTriangle.com.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Come at me or don't come at all. Been ever born and watched a little man fall. I spilled a beer on you, boy. Come at me or don't come at all.
Up here.
The depth of Inside Carolina's roster.
Building depth, bro. I appreciate it. Shout out to Helmet State University for hooking us up here. Got a little helmet action, little mirror visor. I mean, that's pretty flashy. I must say. Speaking of flashy, let's get a man now dog in here, Jason Staples. Staples, how you doing, bro?
You know, I don't know that I qualify as flashy anymore. I'm a lot more get off my lawn than flashy these days.
Curmudgeon-y. Can we go with that? You're not full Clint Eastwood yet, though, are you?
Oh, I'm getting there. I'm starting to get there. Some of this alternate uniform stuff and all this is starting to get me. I don't know.
Oh my Lanta, man! Jason Staples has gone full old man.
Wait until he sees Florida State break out the black helmets again. He's gonna lose his mind.
It's amazing what young Litlums do, isn't it, there, Jason?
I don't think it's the youngins that's done that. I'll lean into it a little more.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here on a beautiful Saturday. Loved your work this week on video breakdowns. I think that third and long stuff you were talking about with how North Carolina was giving up leverage is really important for people to see, and the fact that you highlighted that. Look, you're talking about a young guy in DJ Jones as far as that position and how he's given up, maybe a yard or two. It goes to show just how important positioning is. That you be on a dot, not close to a dot, but you be on a dot when a ball is snapped, right?
Yeah, I mean, a half a yard can be the difference between a touchdown or a third down conversion and getting off the field. And that's the thing. I mean, one of the common factors, one of the commonalities of all of the really good coaches I've been around over the years is that they are absolute sticklers for details. If the play sheet says you're supposed to stand here, then you stand right here, not half a yard over there, not 18 inches over there. You stand right here. If that's your gap, you hit that gap with this shoulder exactly this way, and you don't get your head right here. Your head's over 4 inches, and you might give up an extra tiny bit of seam, and that's the difference. All the really good coaches are just sticklers for detail because those little things add up very, very quickly in a game that is, I mean, this isn't a game of inches, it's a game of millimeters.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. We're talking about, how different things can be. I want to ask you, scheme-wise, what can North Carolina do offensively, and what's Chip Lindsey thinking for a team that is going to try to play defense on both sides of the ball, right? Like, Minnesota's going to try to absolutely suck all of the air out of the stadium, and they want to keep it to like 3 possessions for each team a half, and then they're going to play real defense too. How does North Carolina scheme offensively for that? I mean, what would you do if you had the playbook this week?
Well, for me, if I'm opening this game, I'm testing Minnesota's pass defense early. I want them to show me that they can stop Drake May doing Drake May stuff early on, because I'm going to have some respect for them in their front. I think they're pretty good up front. They're pretty good at what they do in the in stopping the run. They're very gap solid, very, very solid down to down up front. But I want to see if they have the athletes to match up with me outside with my quarterback letting him loose. And I think that's really where you feel like you have an advantage coming in. And I want to test that out. And then if I'm able to get some space there, that's going to force them to cover me, and that's going to give me some opportunities to start to run the football after that. To me, this is a pass to set up the run week.
Jason, that's interesting. We're talking with Jason Staples. Of course, Jason joined us on the game plan and made very salient points late in that show.
The SAT word.
I know, really.
He used commonality. Now you're dropping salient.
It was not an SAT word because I did not do well on the SAT. Jason, when you look at it, I started thinking about what you said about pass first in this game, and I'm not so sure that we won't see it from both teams. And maybe the run games, at least not in the first half, are that important. Flip it to the defensive side. I mean, should North Carolina expect the Greek rifle, Cal 8- to get out and sling the football? And I know you've said that he'll throw it to the other team, but Minnesota's got the game plan to shorten the game and all that. Do they do that pass first as well?
I think Minnesota, if they come out and they throw first, that's probably not a good idea. They need this game to be a shorter game, and they need to be able to win up front, I think, to win this game, and they know it. I do think, I mean, they're gonna want to loosen Carolina up. Don't be surprised if they don't test Carolina's secondary deep a couple times. That's a little different. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple early play actions, and if I'm them, I'm trying to put my quarterback. I'm trying to put the Greek rifle, as you like to call it.
Hey, I didn't make it.
I'm trying to put the. I know, but you've leaned into this, Tommy, and for good reason. It's a heck of a nickname. But I'm trying to put him in situations where he can pull the trigger on some one-on-one opportunities down the field, especially trying to get him matched up against Carolina's safeties down the field, to give him some stuff where, look, if it's not a great throw, it's probably incomplete, or even if a Carolina defensive back makes a great play, well, now you're looking at a punt, basically an arm punt. You want to give him some low risk throws, high reward throws down the field on play action when you know Carolina's going to be trying to stop the run. So 1st and 10, you get the ball on the 35 or something like that. line up and see if you can get a post route matched up one-on-one against the safety. See if you can get a deep over route, max protect, and see if you can get somebody running across the field against the safety. That's some of the stuff I would expect to see them do in the passing game. I do not expect to see them line up and do this whole possession passing and try to throw the football down the field. That's not their game, and I think if they have to do that, they're going to wind up setting themselves up for some turnovers, because I do think that if they are forced to throw the ball a bunch, you're probably going to see an interception or two in this game for Carolina secondary.
Jason, when you look at you mentioned North Carolina's safeties, and I want to kind of go there. We talked a lot about the corners, whether it's Holloway, Marcus Allen, Elijah Huzzy. We haven't talked and spent a lot of time talking about North Carolina's safeties this year. Gio Biggers, Don Chapman. They've been back there. Will Hardy's sort of working his way in. What have you seen from them? I feel like we talk a ton about the defensive line and their issues at times. They've been great one game and okay the next. But are North Carolina's safeties a concern for you watching this defense?
Yeah, they are. Mostly because you have some limitations at safety that you have to be conscious of. I think Gio Biggers has been pretty good on the year. I think he's been pretty consistent, but every so often you'll notice he's not the fastest guy in the world. So if you can get a fast slot receiver matched up on just the right coverage, where you're going to get a guy in an over route or something where he's running away from him, that's not an advantageous matchup for you. He's going to have to play. He has to play certain things perfectly, because he's not going to be able to chase down a guy that runs a low 4.5, high 4.4. So you can get some matchups there. And then Don Chapman has had a few mistakes this year in terms of angles and some other things that have just been slightly off. And you'd like to see a little more consistency there. So I think that's one of the spots where if I was an opposing coordinator, I would want to attack that position group and make them prove to me, make Biggers prove to me that he can cover one-on-one against my fastest guy. I'd try to set that up. Make Don Chapman cover one-on-one in a situation where he might have a little bit of conflict. Make him make quick decisions. So those are some things that I'd be trying to do, and you can do that on especially neutral downs, your 1st and 10, 2nd and 5 stuff, where you got the advantage as an offense to make those safeties have to process and then really play against your most athletic guys. That's what I'd be trying to do.
Defensively, you talked about Biggers. Let's talk about a little bit, their defensive line. I think there's an obvious matchup difference in size. But then you go and look at a guy like King who's leading Division I in pressures right now. Size doesn't seem to matter to that. It's just a matter of I'm going to outwill you. Does that come into play today? Is this another game where the edges can make a difference? Des Evans has had a great season so far and is doing the things I think you and a lot of other folks expected him to do? Or is this one of those games where, like we said in the last segment with Jeremiah and Evan, that the interior line are the guys that need to hold up?
I think it's a both and in this game, because they're going to run a lot of zone runs. So there's a difference between zone and gap runs. Gap runs are where you're going to have, let's say you're running to the right. On the gap run, you're going to have the guys on the right side blocked down. You're usually going to have a double team at the point of attack there on the front side, and then you're going to pull somebody to clear out some specific space, and you run into a specific hole on that front side. So, that's where you're letting your guys kind of get loose and try to get upfield and mash people. Zone stuff, everybody's stepping one way, and then there isn't one clear hole. You have an aiming point where you're telling your back, here's where you start, but expect to kind of cut back and different things there. And you're trying to let the defensive line run themselves out of gaps or just be slightly off, a little bit over penetration from this spot, and then this guy gets turned back just a little bit, and that's where the seam develops. If you have a good back with good vision, those turn into big plays. This is one of those games where you're going to have to be really good against some zone stuff, and they weren't that great against zone last week against App State. they're going to see a bunch of that stuff again, and that means you have to be really cohesive up front, not just on the defensive line, but at linebacker, to make sure that you are in the proper, everybody's in their proper spot. Forces you to play team defense and make sure that you are in your gap in exactly the right spot and exactly the right way. And that if you're getting penetration right there. Because if one guy's slightly off, now you're opening that stuff up. So to me, this is a game, though, that is made for guys like Rucker and Evans on the edge, because you're playing against a team that wants to run it so much, and a team that does like to run the stretch. So they're going to try to get the edge on you and try to get those guys moved a little bit. And, size has never been a problem for Des Evans. And, Rucker, you mentioned size, that's a disadvantage for him. He's shorter, but that dude is jacked. Like, he's 260 plus pounds. He is not a small man, right? He plays with a tremendous amount of strength, and he's got great size in where it matters, in terms of in the weight area, and in terms of he's thick through that lower half, and plays with great leverage, and is really a load, not just in the passing game, but against the run. He's a guy who can make plays and is not easy to move in the running game. This is a good matchup to have those guys in there. But again, they have to be cohesive. They have to not be over-aggressive against what Minnesota is going to do in the running game, and they have to really be disciplined in playing their assignments well against that running game. And if they do so, I think Carolina's got some athletic advantages up front that should allow them to have some tackles for loss, or to get some stuffs in the running game. And then you get the ball back to your offense, and now you're cooking.
About 90 seconds left, Jason. I'm playing fantasy offensive coordinator here. Tell me why or why not a George Pettaway slot fade would not be a beautiful thing to work in today.
Because you have Nate McCollum already, and you've got Kobe Paysour. So, look, Pettaway is a dynamic player. He's really fast. He's athletic, but I think he's a guy you use more in the screen game and more to get the ball in his hands and make somebody miss. Let him do some things in the open field. The guys that have played receiver longer and have more experience in some of that stuff, those are the guys you want running those slot fades and those verticals, where they're going to have to make some catches with guys draped on them and that sort of thing. And I think Nate and Paysour are both really good at that.
Jason, real quick, question from the chat. Where is Jason? Chuck E. Cheese. House sounds like a zoo. What's it like?
Yeah, well, I got two little ones that we just got out of soccer practice, so there's been a whole lot of energy expended. So they're doing the best that they can to stay quiet, but we're doing what we can here.
It is 2 under 4s. It is a great sound. Never apologize for the sound of children having fun.
Yeah, man. Well, Staples, we'll let you get back to playing kindergarten cop over there. We will talk to you sometime. We'll need to let you get your Arnold impression in there. We'll talk with you sometime next week, Jason. We appreciate you making time for us, and folks can look for your stuff all week this week on IC.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, that's Jason Staples. Take a quick break. Start the second hour here on Inside Carolina Live. You're listening to 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is Anthony Elzey, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live. Go ahead.
It's time for the Chapel Hill Tire Drive Happy Drive of the Game. This week's Drive of the Game came from the improving Carolina defense. With the game on the line in the second overtime, the defense got the stop on 4th down to hand the Heels the 40-34 victory over App State they needed, and a 2-0 record to start the season.
App 2 of 2 on 4th down. If they don't get a first, Carolina wins the game. 40-34. Here's the shotgun snap to Aguilar. Drops back. Pressure coming. Aguilar floats it up. Incomplete. No flags. Head on back up the mountain. Carolina wins it in double overtime. 40-34.
That was this week's Chapel Hill Tire Drive Happy Drive of the Game. You can tackle dirt by trying Chapel Hill Tire's new mobile car wash and detailing app for the ultimate Drive of the Game experience. Get your car game ready anytime, anywhere. Download now and enjoy a touchdown-worthy shine. Visit chapelhilltire.com for details.
Hello, Tar Heel fans. I'm Jeremy Salemson with CIMG Residential Mortgage. Like our Tar Heels, the Triangle housing market is #1 in North Carolina. No matter the season or the economy, CIMG has been your local mortgage company for over 26 years. We love supporting our communities because we lend where we live. To find out more about our team and what makes us special, visit CIMGINC.com and go Heels!
For over 20 years, there's been no better place online for the Tar Heel sports community than Inside Carolina. Exclusive recruiting information, in-depth team analysis, insightful podcasts. There's nowhere else that you'll find the level of daily content about the Tar Heels than InsideCarolina.com. Join the best community for Tar Heel sports around. The Tar Heels are your hometown team, and Inside Carolina is your hometown site for Tar Heel sports.
Mac Orthodontics is in the business of making people smile with confidence. Here's Megan, a happy parent, with more.
Very first time that I walked through these doors, I was absolutely blown away by how professional Dr. Mac was. Dr. Mac is such a great guy that you almost want your kid to have a problem with their teeth just so you can come here and spend time with him. He's a great orthodontist, but he's more than that, a fantastic human being. I love him.
Mac Orthodontics in Hillsborough and Burlington. Start loving your smile. Learn more at MacOrtho.com.
Hey Tar Heels, my name is Adam Bishop, the senior pastor at New Hope Church in Durham. I'm a big Tar Heel fan, a husband, a father to 3 amazing boys, and I believe deeply in building bridges to create community. At New Hope Church, you're welcomed with big smiles and hellos by people who are genuinely excited to see you. We're a diverse faith community sharing hope in Central North Carolina for more than 20 years. If you're looking for a church home, we'd love to meet you this coming Sunday. Visit our website, newhopechurch.org, to learn more, as well as to stay up to date on events and how we're serving our local communities. We can't wait to meet you, and God bless our Tar Heels.
Hi, it's Jones Angel, voice of the Tar Heels, and you're listening to your flagship station for Tar Heel sports, 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, Chapel Hill.
Coming to you straight from a Carolina football tailgate party in the heart of the southern part of heaven. From the independent voice of UNC Sports, covering everything from Amos to Zwicker, this is Inside Carolina Live. And now the hosts of Inside Carolina Live, Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell.
Welcome back to Inside Carolina Live. Tommy Ashley, Joey Powell. Beautiful day here in the Bowls lot. We're getting ready for Minnesota, which will kick off in about 2 hours here. We'll hand it over to the Tar Heel Radio Network in about an hour. But Tommy, we have got a guy who basically is now, I'm assuming, like assistant prime minister or associate prime minister of Canada by now, just based on the level of success he had in his career. You might remember him from chucking the pill around at Kenan Stadium quite a bit. Mr. Daren Durant. Daren, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. And, you know, we've got the pleasure of watching a guy like Drake May right now under center for North Carolina. And there's a lot of similarities in you guys because Drake's put up such gaudy numbers, and all of a sudden you start looking and then people see Daren Durant's name come back. You start seeing, oh man, I forgot Daren was a gamer. And then you go back and look at some of the in-game, single game, and single season stats that you put up, and now all of a sudden what is old is new again. So I'm glad we got to talk to you today, and I'm going to start right there at the quarterback spot. As a QB yourself, how do you feel watching Drake May do what he's doing at 20 years old?
It's amazing to watch. I mean, the way these offenses are so open and spread out in today's game, to see him execute at such a high level. And not only that, he's making NFL-type throws. They throw a lot of vertical concepts, and he's hitting tight ends down the seam. He's connecting with the deep ball at a high rate. So I'm very impressed watching him play.
Is there something about seeing this wide open, as you put it, and seeing the college spread now that makes Daren wish he could go back about 15, 18 years and jump back on the field? Because this would have been perfect for your skill set.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys, they run a up-tempo style offense. They're getting plays off in 15, 20 seconds. and they're taking a lot of shots. And I would definitely have loved to play in that type of system. Not only that, shorter quarterbacks are getting more of a look now, so that would have been good as well. But no, just to see how the game has evolved, the passing game, and how it's such a huge part of college football today, it's just been amazing watching, the growth of the offenses.
Daren, we were talking a little earlier about your career at North Carolina, and we'll get into that maybe in another show, but I wanted to ask you something you just mentioned there is the shorter quarterback aspect. Obviously, Drake May, 6'5", can see over the line, but you've got guys like Kyler Murray and other smaller guys, and you were one of those guys when you played at North Carolina. Explain to folks the difficulty and the benefit, the difficulty of not being so tall and the benefit that a guy like Drake has to be able to see over 6'5", 6'6" tackles and guards and defensive linemen. I mean, just sort of speak to that aspect of it, because I don't think people understand. I've never understood how you guys see you're throwing to.
Yeah, for sure. It's true. There's definitely a benefit for being a 6'4", 6'5" guy, being able to see behind the offensive linemen who are getting bigger every year as well. More so for us shorter guys, it's all about anticipation. I think that, we can kind of lose track of some defenses that may shift post-snap. You may lose track of where safety is. So your pre-snap read as a shorter quarterback is so key in being able to anticipate what the defense is doing. So for Drake and, some of these other taller guys, it's definitely a benefit. But I think for us shorter guys, we had to be more on point. We couldn't be late with our throws. We had to make sure our anticipation was there, because we may lose track of what the defense is doing, post-snap.
When you're back there, sort of walk people. I asked Drake about this when we interviewed him for a special show earlier, I guess over the summer. But can you sort of walk us through what it's like with a quarterback walking up to the line and surveying? Tell us what happens there between end of play and the start of the next play. You obviously had a lot of success at North Carolina doing a lot of different things, but sort of give our listeners an idea of what that's actually like.
Yeah, so it's a lot that comes with it. First and foremost, you have to relay the play to your guys in the huddle or at the line of scrimmage. Communication is the most important thing. So on your side of things, just making sure the O-line, receivers, and backs, they know their responsibilities. That's first and foremost. And then, the first thing any coach will tell you, as you get to the line of scrimmage is know where your hots are. Be able to protect yourself. Know if you have to get rid of the ball quickly, or if you may have a little time in the pocket to make a decision. So, and then in today's game, a lot more. You have a lot of run pass option with the way these defenses are playing. If the safety's low, then it's a run play call, but the quarterback and receiver have to be on the same page, and you can just flick it out there to the receiver. So there's a lot that goes on, in between plays. And, the main thing, and I'll tell any of the younger guys I may work with nowadays, is know your hots, know where, the free guy could be on the defense, because you always want to protect yourself. You don't want to take unnecessary hits.
So we're talking with Daren Durant, former UNC quarterback. Guy had a long career in the CFL, very successful career at that. Daren, I want to ask you, what do you think about this current edition of the Tar Heels? We talked a little bit about Drake May, but in the first two games this season, you've seen some running back play, and I'd like to ask you just how do you see that as you're watching now?
I mean, it's great to see. I mean, British Brooks has been amazing against South Carolina, and then Amarian Hampton, what he did against App State was, it's any quarterback's friend to be able to hand the ball off, and a running back eats up chunks of yards and move the ball down the field for you. So, I would like to see the passing game get going a little bit more. I think when Nate McCullum gets back, he's another weapon that can even with reverses, or he's been so dynamic. Me being in the Atlanta area, I've been able to see him at Georgia Tech and just see how explosive he was as a player. So I think once he gets in the mix, they have a lot more potential in the passing game.
Yeah, these running backs definitely seem like something your old coach John Bunning would have loved, because I know he loved to run some downhill football. As you're sitting here watching this Tar Heel team play, obviously they're without their two leading receivers from last year. They lost Josh Downs and Antoine Green to the pros. You went through some of that when you were playing, where you'd have guys that you relied on, and all of a sudden they're gone. How do you go about indoctrinating guys like Nate McCullum, like some of the younger guys on the Tar Heel offense right now? How do you go about bringing them up to speed, but also recognizing, like, hey, the season's already a quarter of the way over. We got to get moving.
Right. I think it just comes with easy completions, as as quarterbacks like to say. If we can get some easy completions, coaches can get a game plan going to get some of these guys involved, especially the younger guys, get them involved early, make them feel a part of the game, and get these easy completions going. I think you can integrate these guys in the offense that way. And if you're running the ball well, like we have been, and the running backs are eating up chunks of yards, then it makes the passing game that much easier for the quarterback and the offense. So it all starts up front. The line is doing such a good job in the run game and pass game. So get that run game going, and it can open up some things for the younger guys down the field.
Let me ask you a similar question, and obviously Tez Walker's out for the foreseeable future, maybe ever. Nate McCullum should be back today against Minnesota. How important is chemistry with the guys you're throwing to? I've often wondered, watching quarterbacks, are you just throwing to an open jersey, or do you know that that's Nate McCullum out there, where you're throwing it? How big is the chemistry aspect that Drake's probably had some issues with that, given how this NCAA mess and injuries have played out? Yeah,
chemistry is huge. I mean, you have to have trust in your guys. You have to have had those reps at practice. You have to build that sort of relationship, that trust factor. I remember myself when I played 11 years in Saskatchewan, and then I did my final year in Montreal. And once I switched teams, I was with a totally different group of receivers, never worked with them a day in my life. So it was so hard trying to get them on my page, understand where I like for them to be with the spacing. And I mean, for Drake to go through, so many different receivers, it can get tough. But like I said, as long as the run game is doing great, once you can get predictable boxes by the defense, you see what they're doing, it opens things up, and now you can take advantage of some of those young guys' talents.
Let me ask you a question, a little bit of a fun question before Joey takes it back in the right direction. Running for a touchdown as a quarterback, or dropping one in the bucket from 60 yards out?
No better feeling than dropping it in the bucket. I mean, that's a drill in practice for a reason, to be able to hit a guy in stride, everything goes perfect with the play. Especially if you don't get touched as a QB, you can just follow through and just see it drop. That's the best feeling for sure.
And you're halfway down the field with two guns in the air by the time the guy catches and turns around. I love it. We're talking with Daren Durant, former UNC quarterback, longtime pro in the CFL, joining us today on Inside Carolina Live. Daren, I want to ask you, I'm sure you haven't watched a lot of Minnesota football, but what we're looking at is a team that prides themselves on defense. They're going to suffocate you a little bit. They held their last opponent, I believe it was Eastern Michigan, to negative yards in the whole second half and only 6 points for the game. If you're, put on your OC hat for a little bit. If you're calling the game today, what kind of stuff are you looking for to try to take advantage of a team that prides themselves on defense, and a Drake May, quarterback in Drake May that really hasn't had to flex his muscle so much yet? How are you calling this game today?
Well, I'm first and foremost understanding that this is a Big Ten opponent. They play physical football. They pride themselves on physicality and being able to stop the run against some of the teams in that league and the conditions that they play in late in the season. So I'm thinking of spreading them out, spreading those guys out, getting a third and fourth DB in the game and seeing if he can match up with some of my slot receivers. Besides Ohio, I'm sure there are some spread offenses in the Big Ten, but, they're used to bad weather come late in the season. So these teams are built for, their front seven. And, sometimes they don't have enough depth in the secondary. So I would definitely spread them out, try to attack a third and fourth corner, maybe get a safety down in the coverage, and just make these guys cover and run with us the whole game.
One of the beautiful things that I think having success running the ball the first 2 weeks will do for North Carolina today is force that safety to come down into the box and may give Drake a chance to pick on some guys or find his Huckleberry out there on the field. One of the things that's led to this success in running the ball is we found some dogs, I think, on North Carolina's offensive line. Specifically, some cut-ups show one Willie Lampkin literally pancaking guys 15 yards into the end zone and down the field. I know as a quarterback, you love that kind of stuff. Probably only second to the way offensive linemen love that kind of stuff. What does it mean for a quarterback to have a guy who can jump in like that and simply ragdoll an opponent? And I'm assuming it may be a little tougher sledding today, but how do you get fired up when you see one of your guys doing that for you?
You really, you really don't find too many linemen who are fired up like that. A lot of guys want to get back to the huddle and get the next play going. But as a quarterback, you love that energy. You know you have a guy that throughout the entire game, he's going to have your back. He's going to go the extra yard to, if that's pushing a back in the end zone or making a pancake block down the field. You love having those type of guys. Like I mentioned earlier, the offensive line has been opening up tremendous holes in the run game. And, even though this is a more physical team, I think that if you spread them out and get them to cover, now you open up some extra lanes inside where our offensive line can take advantage of, some guys not being in the box.
Daren, when you look at this North Carolina team, you mentioned Nate McCullum. We've already mentioned Tez Walker not out there. Who else can they do you think can step up for Drake? A lot of people, and this is another question too, sort of a part two there. A lot of people have talked about Drake doesn't have the numbers this year he has last year. I think he's a better quarterback because he's able to check at the line. He's able to change plays. But you can speak to that, but also speak to some other wide receivers that you think really need to up their game for this North Carolina passing attack to get in gear.
I mean, honestly, I think that the guys are there. I just think that in some instances timing is off. From what I'm seeing, there may be some miscommunication down the field. I think the plays are there to be made. And like I said, when you add Nate McCullum into this group, a guy who can go in the slot, a guy who you can give reverses to, a guy who thrives in the screen game, I think that this can open up everything for the offense and allow some of those big plays to happen downfield. You look at even Sam Howell, when his top receivers left going into his last year, he had to kind of change his game and tone it down a little bit. And I think that made him more efficient as well. And, it has led to him being able to have some success in Washington now. So same with Drake. I think that, sometimes it's good to lose some of your big guns so you now can focus on some of the small things. And even if that's staying on the field on third down in some instances where you would take a shot down the field because a big play guy like Josh Downs is down there, you now take the easy throw and move the chains and stay on the field.
Daren Durant, one of the best quarterbacks in North Carolina history. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you for some North Carolina memories, Daren. I mentioned Oklahoma game. Just what do you remember the most about North Carolina, specific games, specific plays back into your time in Chapel Hill?
I mean, like you mentioned, the Oklahoma game, just the atmosphere, just going into that as a young guy, and then a couple of weeks later going into Texas to play against those guys. I'm a freshman at the time and have no idea if I'm getting in the game or not, and then I get a chance to play. So those freshman year moments, I think the way we turned that season around, going on the road and beating Clemson, beating Florida State at home. Some big wins, a big rivalry win against East Carolina at home. We had some fun times. And then that group we had with Julius Peppers and David Thornton and, Ryan Sims, we had some of the legends on that team. So, just being a young guy and then looking back and seeing that, man, Pep is a Hall of Famer now. And, Sims first round, Sam Aiken played, how many years in the NFL, just soaking it all up, being around so many of you don't realize how talented they were and are until you look back on it. So, my freshman year was great. I would love to forget my sophomore and junior year. And then to cap it off with just getting to a bowl game our senior year and, being able to establish, the relationship with guys like Jesse Holly, Darius Bowman, Mike Mason, some of the guys that came in to kind of, give us a spark, so to speak, in my last year. It was great to remember as well.
We're talking with Daren Durant, former UNC quarterback, UNC all-time quarterback. I guess when you look at his stats, his name's still all over that record book, especially from the quarterback position. Daren, last question before we let you get out of here, and we appreciate your time. Do you have a pick for us today? I mean, this is a weird game. Vegas likes the Tar Heels by about 7.5. But again, playing a team that North Carolina has never played before in the history of the program, playing a Big Ten team, you've got a game at home. The weather's nice, but it's just it's such a head scratcher. So I want to ask you, who are you picking, and give me some numbers.
I'm going with us for sure. I think we can wear them down a little bit, them coming down south, up-tempo offense. I think that it'll definitely be a slugfest in the trenches. I see it as being not a high-scoring game, maybe 35-32, something close like that. That's what I see. I don't think that I don't know if Minnesota's known to be an explosive offense or not, but I think we can put up some points. I think we can move the ball. I think they'll get their run game going, being that they're a physical team. But, in the end, I think that we can use home field. I think we can use the weather and our up-tempo offense to our advantage.
Well, who knows? Maybe having a former great such as yourself on the pregame show will help the Tar Heels' fortunes today. But regardless, Daren Durant, we appreciate it. We hope to talk to you sometime very soon, and we'll catch you down the road.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again.
Thanks, man.
That's Daren Durant on Inside Carolina Live. We'll be right back after this break. A little IC takeover segment. We'll take some of your questions and just shout out to everybody who's been coming by today. We look forward to wrapping the show up here in just a little bit. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
Yo, this is Denora Cersei, Carolina alum, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live. Let's go, baby.
Hello, Tar Heels. This is Roy Williams. Although we are no longer living in town, when Wanda and I come back, we always stay at the new Sheraton Chapel Hill. The Atma Hotel Group has done wonders with the Sheraton's complete and comfortable transformation and amenities. From convenient parking to very nice guest rooms and the Blue Corners Bistro that serves breakfast and dinner every day. We hope to see you there on one of those special Carolina weekends. And as always, let's go Heels.
Hey, Jack. Hey, Lee. So Oma's Jewelers was born here in Chapel Hill 4 years ago, and I've been thinking, oh dear, hear me out. It's going to be fun. I think Oma's Jewelers in Eastgate Shopping Center has many of the same characteristics as Chapel Hill.
Such as?
We're small and welcoming.
True. Oh, I have one. We love Carolina blue and have the gemstones to prove it.
Good one. At Oma's, we celebrate artists and showcase unique and talented designers.
And we are very popular around wedding season.
See? I told you this was going to be fun.
Oma's Jewelers. The name means diamonds. Let's engage. Online at omasjewelers.com.
Yeah, baby, yeah! Drowning in those shagadelic investment choices, are we? Fear not! With John Stillman at Rosewood Wealth Management by your side, you'll be smashing those numbers and living the mojo-rich life in no time. Don't be a rascal with your moolah. Make it behave, baby.
Austin Powers is not a real person and was not compensated for this endorsement. However, Carolina Wealth Stewards, doing business as Rosewood Wealth Management, is a real registered investment advisor with the state of North Carolina.
Oh, behave.
If you're more than someone who just checks the scores, I want to introduce you to the place for Tar Heel sports, discussion, analysis, and breaking news. Inside Carolina has been the center of the Tar Heel sporting universe for over 20 years, with a team of the best UNC sports reporters around, unrivaled insight, and a vast message board community for round-the-clock discussion with other Tar Heel fans. Your game day begins and ends with InsideCarolina.com.
Here at Bold Commercial Real Estate, we help you find the perfect spot and negotiate great lease terms for your new business. But we don't stop there. I'm Lou, the Bold team member who has owned and operated restaurants and retail businesses for more than a decade. I can help with the details specific to this industry, ranging from ABC permits to hiring staff and everything in between. So get in touch with us. Go to boldcre.com.
Life is full of unexpected moments, and when the lights go out, it's easy to feel powerless. Generator Supercenter of the Triangle has the solution for you.
Our Generac automatic standby generator is reliable for life's unexpected moments. Last year, the power was out for days, but thanks to Generator Supercenter of the Triangle, we didn't skip a beat. Our Generac generator is reliable, efficient, and worth every dime.
Schedule a consultation today at GeneratorSupercenteroftheTriangle.com. That's GeneratorSupercenteroftheTriangle.com.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Keeps on raining, that is gonna break. If it keeps on raining, that is going to break. When the levee breaks, have no place to stay.
Some other Tar Heels install among Hill Captain 10. Oh, Captain, my captain.
It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool to see different types of folks come to ball games and experience the tailgate and all that stuff. I mean, and like I told Jordan when I was speaking to him over there, professional hockey players are by far just the most chill, coolest professional athletes.
Most normal dudes of all professional athletes, and it's not even close.
Yeah, and my man's hanging out over here, and nobody knows.
Nobody knows who he is. He's just chilling. Him and Pace Gester and just hanging out, enjoying this beautiful Carolina blue sky. Just an amazing environment out here. Tommy, listen. I know we got some rain issues last week. I'll take if you telling me I got to have a broadcast from a parking deck and then I turn around and get this week, I'd almost take that every time because this is flawless, dude. You can't beat this with a stick.
Yeah, and we have to shout out WCHL, AJ and Jordan here on site, Kenny at the station. I mean, to be able to put on a show last week in a monsoon,
yeah,
and then come back and double down on it. Without that, we don't stream this.
Right.
And I know folks watching on the YouTube stream, and there's a couple hundred of you. Y'all don't want to look at us all the time.
We can be real. They don't care about seeing us.
But at least you get some sense of the vibe out here in the Bulls Light. It could be a little more crowded. There's a lot of empty spaces out here. I thought it would be a little bit more hectic. But the bottom line is North Carolina wins this week, handles business next week. You get a bye week where everybody can go. I'm going flounder fishing.
What time are we leaving the dock?
And then
I'm still waiting on that invite.
You got to figure out which dock we go to.
I'm still waiting on an invite, by the way. I'm just saying.
Joey Powell has all the money, so you can charter the boat. But we're going out.
I run a charity for a living. What do you mean I got all the money? What the hell are you talking about?
And then you circle back, and it's Syracuse. You handle business against Syracuse. Well, I guess October 7th. Is that when that is? And then you've got Miami coming to town in just a gigantic week. So North Carolina fans want to see their team do well. They want to win as much as anybody. And the Bulls Light sort of reflects that, right?
Isn't it crazy, man? It's like you get, I don't know. I've ripped our fans before because I feel like there's always this, they'll look for a reason to not come to a game. I don't know what the reason is today. I mean, it's a team that North Carolina has never played before. In the history of this program, as long as Carolina football has been around, they've never played Minnesota. You've got an amazing day of weather. You have got just a gorgeous atmosphere. It's 80 degrees. There's not a cloud in the sky. I don't know why people wouldn't show up for this game.
It will be a great crowd when it comes to
when the King kicks off. I feel like it'll be great. I guess I'm just unsure why, and maybe it's because they're charging for parking now. I don't know, but whatever. The people that are here though are here and they're feeling it.
Yeah,
they're on one. Yeah,
and I've got the camera pointing into the crowd.
There you go.
That ghost Jeep Gladiator.
It's pretty sweet, huh?
I'm not a fan of the Jeep Gladiator truck things because if I want a pickup truck, I just get a pickup truck.
Dude, is that like is he got a big sonar, like, what is it, a GPS on the back of that
I don't know. It looks like he probably called Mars.
That thing could drive on the moon.
What a sweet ride out there. You got a lot of folks out here having fun. Tailgate smell great. Our Filipino chicken on a stick.
Filipino barbecue hookup from last week. He came out and apologized because he didn't have any this week. What kind of, like, this is just amazing people, man. They bring us free food last week, and then this week he feels bad because he didn't have any.
And if you're watching on YouTube stream, you see the parking police coming by, making sure folks are doing what they're supposed to do. Just a happening time. Look, folks, if you can get down to the Bulls lot, for North Carolina football games. I know there's other areas on campus to tailgate.
There are?
But
I thought this was it.
Well, this is basically it. But I want to give shout out to everybody else. You got the young folks. You got footballs flying over there. You just got a lot going on in the Bulls lot. Come down and join us here for Inside Carolina Live.
Please do.
And it is a fun time down here. And it's all about what college football is about. It's not just North Carolina. It's every area in college football. It's all about the tailgating.
Yeah. You got any questions for me over there in the chat?
Let me look. And
see what you got there. See, now listen, you bragged about being a producer and also being a host. I mean, now I'm going to put you on the spot and see if you've got any actual questions from our folks out there. And shout out to everybody who's been in the chat with us today, being a part of this too. It's pretty fun to see.
I've got a lot of flounder.
A lot of flounder?
Twigs and Crawley. Hit me up off air. We will talk. I go out of Atlantic Beach, out of Moorhead. Let's go to the questions.
All right, fire away. We'll try to answer. And again, Tommy, I tell you what, I'm trying to up the game this week. Let's bring back the $50 Johnny T-shirt gift certificate. What do you feel about that?
All right, $50.
Give me the best question we will pick at the end of the segment.
What about this helmet?
I can't give that away. That's from Helmets, but you know what? You can get one from Helmet State University. Hit them up at Helmet State University on Instagram. Our guy Jeff Gord hooking up our set this week. He does good work, man.
He absolutely does, and he's got one of the best tailgate setups in the lot.
That is also true. All right, hit me with some questions.
Fur guy. On the YouTube chat.
Fur like from Black Eyed Peas?
Like fur, like double R.
All right, I got you.
If you
like Hunter Fur. Remember Hunter Fur?
Yes, absolutely. East Carolina, Hunter Fur. If you win the toss, do you take the ball? Does Mac take the ball or defer?
Okay, so hang on. Here's the question. Is he talking about do I take the ball or does Mac take the ball? Because I don't know if that'll be the same thing.
What does North Carolina do? What does Joey Powell do?
I think you take the ball today. I mean, you're going, again, I mentioned earlier, it's good v. good, North Carolina's offense against Minnesota's defense. I think the first chance you get to score points and get on the scoreboard, you jump all over that like a dog on a steak, right? So
I disagree.
Well, it's okay. Somebody's got to be wrong. But go ahead. Tell me why.
Because if they're going to defer. Mm-hmm. I was shocked. Was it South Carolina that took the ball?
Yeah.
And South Carolina took the ball. You go 3 and out.
That was insulting. They're like literally just challenging North Carolina's manhood on the first play on the coin toss.
I think you defer to kick. You want it on the start of the second half, and then you go play defense. Your defense, I always think, is more ready to go straight out the gate than your offense. But, who knows? Maybe they switch it up. But I would wager that if North Carolina wins the toss, they defer. Maybe we have a bet. We'll bet this helmet.
Okay.
All right.
Another question.
Question number 2. This is a good one. I'll throw it up on the chat. Paul H., what's bigger factor today, time of possession or turnover margin? I'm going to go first.
Go ahead.
Jason Staples calls turnover margin the biggest overrated stat in college football.
Okay.
Agree or disagree?
I mean, in the modern game, I think it's overrated because I think, you got teams that, and this is going to hurt some people for me to say, but think about how quickly Larry Fedora wanted to score, right? Like Larry Fedora would rather score in 3 plays and get 50 points on, he'd rather get 50 points in 10 minutes of possession than anybody. But I don't think that's unique to him. I think that's just, I think that's a byproduct of the game being more spread out and more up tempo now. Now, again, with the rules being changed this year a little bit, I'm not sure if that's changed at all. But I do think that time of possession might be the most overrated stat.
It sounds like the Ryan Coe news broke that he will not be playing today. He hurt himself a little bit.
Yeah, he did not look good after that second kick.
But they, North Carolina's got Noah Burnett back there.
who has played meaningful games before.
Yeah, and the bottom line is nobody from North Carolina has been consistent kicking.
Right.
But talking about going back to the defer, not defer.
No, the turnover question.
Yeah, no, I want to hit the defer thing first, and then I'll jump to turnovers and why that's important. You want to get ahead on possessions.
Of course.
Right? And so then when you flip that to time of possession, you want to get Minnesota off the field early.
Yep.
And then you can sort of work time of possession. But turnovers are always the game, Joey.
I feel like
Nebraska had 3 offensive possessions against
isn't that insane?
Minnesota. 3
in the
first half.
That's but that's what they want, and that's where I think if you can. I mentioned earlier we were talking with Jeremiah and Evan. Like if North Carolina can make what limited possessions they have today, if they can make them count, that matters. If North Carolina can find a way to steal a possession here or there, I think that matters. Yeah, I know it sounds like this is like the no crap exclusive, but I do think that it makes a big difference if you can, in a game where possessions are going to be few and far between, if you can steal 1 or 2 here or there, whether it's forcing a turnover on downs or creating one on your own on a legit turnover, it's going to make all the difference in the world.
You got a late arrive here, AJ. You better get out the way. Somebody's rolling up.
Oh, this guy. Don't mind us, pal. Not just trying to do live radio here.
Yeah, if the tent moves, it's because somebody is getting here just now and is going to pull in right beside us.
Don't mind us.
I think the bottom line is time of possession matters, but turnovers matter more. And I think North Carolina has to win that. Shout out to the questions. Let's go.
Hang on. Can North Carolina win one and win the ball game? Or do they need both of them?
I think if you win turnovers, you usually win time of possession, don't you?
That's fair, especially again when they're limited like they're going to be today. I think that's accurate. All right, what else you got up there?
All right, let's see what we got. This is the Inside Carolina Live show. I see takeover. Ooh, this is a big one. How many tackles do Gray and Eccles make today? Over under 30.
If it's over that, that's not good. If it's over that means Minnesota's had the ball a lot.
I agree with that portion, and I do not think Eccles nor Gray look very good against App.
Eccles was out of position a lot. I mean, and again, hats off to App State for calling a game that put him in conflict a lot. You hear Staples talk a lot about offensive coordinators like to find the guy that they want to put in conflict, and it was clear that Power Eccles was that guy last week. Now, I do think if North Carolina's getting downhill and stopping the run, you could see those guys have a big day. But 30 is a huge number, Tommy.
That is, even if you split it evenly, that's 15 and 15. I think if North Carolina is going to have success against Minnesota, those defensive linemen need to be making tackles.
Yeah, and that's where I think that makes more of a difference. If you see guys like Amari Gaynor, and you see guys like Kamen Rucker, Des Evans, Bo Atkinson when he gets his reps, if those guys are making tackles and that number's rather high, I think that's a good thing. I think that's the positive number.
Brings us to the next question. Does Travis Shaw provide D-line pressure needed today to offset the big Gopher line? If not, who does? Travis Shaw is another one who needs to get it together consistently.
It's clear that he is not quite to his potential yet. And again, there were some plays last week where he did not look like he was up for the task.
And that was against an App State line.
An Appalachian undersized line
that plays with some fight. Yep. Now, we can't just automatically say if you're undersized, you're no good, because Willie Lampkin defeats that.
But, no hate at all in that.
But Travis Shaw needs to be a factor. He needs to play like he's played in practice. We've heard, I've talked to sources that have watched practice every day, and they say one day Travis will look like a monster or a first-round NFL draft pick. He will make plays. He will intercept passes. He will run interceptions back for touchdowns. In practice, he needs to translate that to the games, and he did not do that last week. And I think today, granted, he's still running with the threes. He's going to get some time.
He'll get some snaps today.
He needs to make sure that he is active and totally engaged. And I'll give you an over/under on how many times we get hit by that football.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like, dude's just out here just chucking. And
I'm going to pull my
switch the camera and let everybody see what we're talking about. You got any more questions, or we need to break?
No, we got some questions. We got plenty of time. Let's roll into them. Let's go. This is a good question. Shout out to East Tennessee Tar Heel. Love East Tennessee.
Johnson City, I agree.
Will the Heels have more rushing yards or passing yards today?
I think it's passing.
I
think if well, let me rephrase that. If North Carolina has their druthers, I think it's passing. If they're running the ball, I think that's a good sign. But I think North Carolina wants to, like Staples said earlier, it's run to set up the pass today. I think today it's, we made the joke last.
He said it the other way around.
Did he?
Yeah, he said pass set up.
Pass
the run.
to set up the run. Okay. Well, either way, I think what you're dealing with is you've got to have a situation where North Carolina is forcing Minnesota to bring guys into the box. You want Minnesota to bring that extra body up to give Drake May single man options, because if we've seen anything, Drake loves to exploit those situations. So if you're forcing Minnesota to bring that extra man up to respect the run, then you've got Drake May making calls on the snap, which I will take that 9 times out of 10, and probably 10 out of 10 if it's a really nice day outside.
Looking at last couple questions here, and we're on IC Live Takeover, IC Takeover segment. And if I get hit by that football, there's going to be a problem.
Brought to you by Johnny T-shirt, by the way.
Yeah, Johnny T-shirt is always the place to go. I might have to get some Johnny T-shirt swag to hand out to ease my mind. Last questions, and they run together. Yancey, Carolina's offense. What does Carolina's offense look with a healthy Nate?
Wait. Are you giving preference to Johnson County people, giving Yancey a question out there?
I just call the questions, man. I just tag them. I do not give preference to any one person, because Ferguy's getting a second one.
All right, fair enough. Go ahead.
He might get the MVP. Does Nate start and slot? If so, where does Pacer go? Need both on the field. I will say this. Nate's been running with the ones.
Right.
And I think he's the one. We talked on the game plan. We've talked all week. North Carolina does not have a quote-unquote one wide receiver. Granted, Nate's the slot, but I think he can still be the one.
Those guys also cross-train at every single receiver position.
And I think you can play Pacer out, and I think that's what you see from North Carolina. Nate McCullum needs to be on the field for Drake May.
You're not going to see a situation where you've got like a tall receiver playing in the slot, but McCullum has trained all three, as has Pacer, as has Blackwell. So I don't think it's necessarily one or the other. What I do think, and I love that Staples answered this question earlier in this fashion, was that now McCullum's ability to catch the ball and ability to be a speed guy opens up the option of throwing a slot fade, which quarterbacks love that, because it's almost one of the hardest things for any defense to defend.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is you get your best players on the field. Nate McCullum was not brought in to sit and watch. There it is.
We knew it was coming.
I said we would get hit. If you can't catch it, don't throw it, guys. Welcome into Inside Carolina Live, Dodging Footballs.
All right, Tommy, last question. What was it?
That was it.
That was it?
Nate McCullum. It was a two-parter with Nate McCullum. I think he's got to be on the field. I think Pacer's got to be on the field, and then it's either Gavin Blackwell or J.J. Jones making plays. And somebody in the parking lot asked me about Andre Green Jr. He'll get his opportunities. He needs to make them happen.
Yeah. That's the thing with any of the young guys, right? Like, if you've got an elite level Heisman generational type quarterback like Drake May, when you get snaps, bro, you better catch the ball. You better catch the ball, and you better run the right route, because that's the type of thing an offensive coordinator is not going to tolerate in a season like this where you've got to make your hay. All right, Tommy, we will pick a winner during the break and let them know who gets the $50 gift card from Johnny T-shirt.
I got one last question.
You got one last? All right, go ahead. You control the computer, man. Look, you're on a roll. I ain't going to stop you.
Patrick Cox. Who does Adam Boone cheer for today?
Adam Boone cheers for turnovers today.
Does Adam Boone even?
That's just that. Why you got to bring that up, Patrick?
That is
Cox?
A great question.
Patrick Cox, why you couldn't make a Chris Collins joke or something like that? Chris Collins split between UNC and Minnesota. I don't know why you got to go Adam Boone there, but I do appreciate the snark. That's impressive. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Shout out to Johnny T-shirt for sponsoring this segment. If you're within the sound of my voice and have not stopped by Johnny T-shirt today, you can still make that happen. Game doesn't start for at least another hour and some change. Go buy Johnny T-shirt, get you some new threads, get you a new fit, as the kids say, and look good when you stroll into Keena today at 3:30 for that kickoff against Minnesota. We appreciate Johnny T-shirt. We know that Inside Carolina Premium subscriber appreciates them because they get that extra 10% off of their order. We'll be right back for the last segment before we hand it over to the guys at the Tar Heel Radio Network. Tommy Ashley, Joey Powell, AJ and Jordan holding us down on site here. Kenny Dyke back in the studio playing with the Keurig, I'm assuming. This is Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
I'm Shimon Williams, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
Hello, friends. This is Mark Pons from Chapel Hill Tire. A clean car is a happy car. That's why we offer expert car wash and detailing service. And with our new mobile car wash app, we will come to your home or office and give you an expert car cleaning while you continue on with your day. It's so easy. Download the Chapel Hill Tire Car Wash app on Google Play or the Apple App Store to schedule your mobile car wash service. We'll have you driving happy and clean, Chapel Hill.
Hey, Jack. Hey, Lee. So Almost Jewelers was born here in Chapel Hill 4 years ago, and I've been thinking, oh dear, hear me out. It's going to be fun. I think Almost Jewelers in Eastgate Shopping Center has many of the same characteristics as Chapel Hill.
Such as?
We're small and welcoming.
True. Oh, I have one. We love Carolina Blue and have the gemstones to prove it.
Good one. At Almost, we celebrate artists and showcase unique and talented designers.
And we are very popular around wedding season.
See? I told you this was going to be fun.
Almost Jewelers. The name means diamonds. Let's engage. Online at almostjewelers.com.
Hey Carolina fans, Cedric Gray, All-American linebacker for the Tar Heels here to talk about All About Insurance Cover 2 Defense, where they cover your car and your home to save you money. I love the Cover 2 because I know my ride and my house are covered by AAI. As an independent agency, they can find the best coverage for me. That's All-American coverage from All About Insurance. They know all about insurance so you don't have to. Visit allaboutinsurance.com today for your Cover 2.
This is Hubert Davis, head coach of the Tar Heels. The new Sheridan, Chapel Hill, has been completely renovated with all the amenities you need to fully enjoy your time here. So don't forget to make reservations for you, your family, and friends at the new Sheridan, Chapel Hill, where so many Tar Heel alumni and fans stay for home games and other special visits. Go to SheridanChapelHill.com for our home games and your other reasons to be in Chapel Hill. Thank you, and go Heels.
What's the best part about working in Governor's Village? It's hard to say. Some think it's the generous free parking at the Bold Building. Others rave about the proximity to other locally owned businesses like Gov's Fusion Cantina, Nail Tech, Blue Bamboo, and Tarantini. I'm Cindy Harper Covington, the on-site property manager here at Governor's Village, and I'd love to see your business thrive here too. Become one of the best parts of Governor's Village. Visit us at boldcre.com.
Keith Green, an agent for Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry & Walston, uses his background in education in the buying and selling of real estate.
I thought as an extension in terms of me serving people, educating people, and mentoring people on home buying. I'm a certified real estate instructor. While I thought I was leaving education, I'm actually incorporating that process. I'm a hands-on type of agent. It's an extension of service, and I want to see people achieve their dreams, and that's why I do what I do.
To learn more, go to KeithEGreen.com.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
I don't care about the money, 'cause I ain't seen none. I don't care about the women, all I need is one.
Make this a part of your Saturday, man. It's an amazing day to be tailgating. It's a beautiful day for Carolina football. And if you're listening to us, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for the folks that are watching us on the IC YouTube channel. I'm just thankful for everybody who's come by and say hello, too. It's kind of fun to be to have people come by and be nice to you. I'm not used to that.
Well, I'm used to that.
I'm not.
They're always nice to me.
Well, it's a new thing for me, man.
One thing that's cool to me is, and you mentioned nice, is how cool people are.
They really are. They're just happy to see us, happy to be here.
Yeah, and I got to flip the camera around because we got to see this car coming in the tailgate, and this is what you guys are missing.
It's old Willie's? No, it's a Bronco. It's an old Bronco.
It's even pre-OJ Bronco. You got to check this out if I can figure it out. But anyway, Joey.
Oh, you missed him, bro. It's like a 68, 69 Bronco.
It is what I want.
Yeah.
I want a car that I don't have to put a top on. I just drive it. If it gets wet, it gets wet. Man rolls up.
I saw one on Bring a Trailer a while back. It was like a 72 Bronco. It was as Carolina blue as it gets, and he had the soft target top on it, and it was just absolutely mint condition. It was one of those things where, like, if I had money,
you have money.
No, I don't. Where are you getting this from?
You have money, man.
What's up, Mr. Beach House? I don't have money.
So let's talk about Minnesota, North Carolina. We are easing up about an hour and 15 minutes away from
Give me some
kickoff.
keys to the game, bro. Be our locksmith. Give me a key to the game if it's North Carolina. We've heard, and I'll be honest, Jeremiah and Evan brought it a little bit earlier. I was impressed with that. They had some good insight. I want to ask you, what do you think the keys to today's game are? Like, tell me what has to happen for Carolina to be happy at 7 o'clock tonight.
I said it a little bit on game plan, and I'll say it because I've thought about it a lot. I think North Carolina's interior defensive line needs to be better than they were last week. Now, Minnesota's going to want to run the ball wide and run that stretch, but I think where North Carolina got in trouble is the interior defensive line were not accomplishing their goals of keeping guys clean to come in and make tackles. There is the boss's wife,
Mrs. Godfather.
The Mrs. Godfather. The El Jefa instead of El Jefe. Good to see you, Trish, and the puppy dog. But I think North Carolina needs to be strong interior on the defensive line. You expect Rucker to make plays. You expect, Amari Gaynor.
Dogs.
Oh, I love dogs, man. Dogs and babies. You can't beat it. But I expect North Carolina to be good at those positions. I think. Yeah. Interior, and I think it needs to be Murphy and Travis Shaw and Hester and Tamari Fox, and I think Eccles and Gray need to play better.
And I want to talk to the folks that listen to this show that may not understand. The wind just came out of nowhere.
I know, really.
Maybe that's why Ryan Coe can't play today. Because this wind just got stupid. Listen, for the folks who may not understand, an interior defensive lineman doesn't need to have a lot of tackles. An interior defensive lineman does not need to have sacks to have a good game. An interior defensive lineman, one of the guys playing at the tackles position, whether it's the 3 or the nose, those guys need to take on double teams. Those guys need to command attention so that, like Tommy said, linebackers can come in and clean up. What you want to have is those guys like Murphy, like Hester, like Travis Shaw if he gets some snaps. You want those guys occupying offensive linemen so that then Power Eccles and Cedric Gray can do what they do best, and that's stop guys at the point of attack.
Yeah, you cannot allow those guys to get reached.
Right.
Because if those guys get reached,
it's going to be a long day. God almighty.
Then you're going to run, and then you're going to have corners and safeties down the field one-on-one with the running back. And I'll take a good running back against a safety every day of the week.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat asked, is the Carolina hearse still a thing?
The heel raiser.
Heel raiser. I have not seen
heel raiser
in the last couple of years.
I remember somebody posted it for a while back. I think I might be wrong here. I think the guy that was driving it
passed.
He either passed or he had some health issues, and so I think the heel raiser's probably sitting in a garage somewhere waiting for somebody to take over that mantle and be the next heel raiser. But good question, because we definitely used to see it every single week.
And if you're listening to this and you have access to it, reach out to us. We'd love to have that in the background.
For sure. That'd be an awesome backdrop.
That's one of the great tailgate vehicles there are. Joey, I think aside from that, I think North Carolina's offense needs to be efficient. I've said I thought Drake May has been a better quarterback.
He hasn't had to be great yet.
He hasn't had to do Drake May things yet, and I think that is a good thing.
That's not absolutely well. And this is the thing. I got so ticked off last week after the game when, and I love IC subscribers. I love the passion. I love, but the idiocy about North Carolina's offensive coordinators costing Drake a Heisman, bro. Drake knows they were getting 10 yards a rush.
Yeah.
Those guys understand what the defense is giving them. They know what is available. Drake wants to win.
Yes.
He don't care about a Heisman. Now, don't get me wrong. If he won one, I'm sure he'd be ecstatic. His family would be ecstatic. It'd be great for his future potential. But can we stop with the being mad that Drake May wasn't throwing the ball 40 times when Amari and Hampton was absolutely getting 5 yards after contact and averaging 10 yards a clip?
Let's talk about this question right here.
All right.
Before we get out of here.
That's a great question. That's a great one to finish on.
Jimbo.
What's up, Jimbo?
Not Fisher Whitfield. Says, will North Carolina play up today? That is the question. That is the biggest question for this program right here today.
And that's what they need to prove, man. I had I said earlier in the show, I need North Carolina to beat somebody. Like, just go impose your will. And they didn't do it last year. And I think that's kind of the win small phase, kind of transitioning into the win big phase. You guys talked about it on the game plan. I think you may have talked about it on the beat this week too. But at some point, North Carolina, I need to just have them beat someone. You were a 19-point favorite last week and needed overtime to win by a touchdown. I need North Carolina to beat someone and actually do what they want to do and force the other team into reactions. Why am I reaching here? What do you think?
No, I mean, Greg, and I'll go back to what I said in the opening segment. Greg said we will know all we need to know about this North Carolina team after these next 2 weeks.
And I think today will tell you a lot about next week.
Yeah, and this game here today is not a conference game. So I think there's some sense of, hey, we can learn from this game, but we don't have to win it. I do not agree. I think this is the exact type game that if North Carolina wants to be relevant on a national scale, you win this game.
Well, it's a Big Ten opponent. It's not Ohio State. It's not Michigan, but it's a Big Ten opponent.
And this is a good, solid Big Ten team in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. The Minnesota fans that we've talked to, they are very friendly and very cordial, but they are very confident.
Oh, yeah.
That they can come in here and beat North Carolina.
They ain't scared.
And North Carolina needs to realize that this team is going to do the same thing. And, and they wore the Tez Walker jerseys or shirts coming into the stadium.
Which I like
they
that,
were
by the
going to
way.
do that. They're all in on that. But the bottom line is you play with who brought you. And North Carolina has to deal with that aspect of it. When they walk on the field today, Tez Walker is going to be on the sidelines. Yep. They've got to be ready to play regardless. I think the addition of Nate McCullum is huge for North Carolina, but I also think that Cedric Gray and Power Echols and that interior defensive line need to realize that while the talk is on the secondary, while the talk is on Kamen Rucker and all that, they need to be the guys that make the difference here. And we'll see what happens. A lot of talk. John Siegley, and shout out to him, he brought it over here and we've talked about it. Drake May's QBR is better than it was last year.
That's a good nugget.
It's a great nugget, but the bottom line is North Carolina wins this game with the defense, in my opinion.
Well, and that's, again, we saw North Carolina's defense against South Carolina make it to where Drake didn't have to be Drake. They did enough against South Carolina to make that offense one-dimensional. If North Carolina does that today, I love their chances. But it's going to be something that eventually a defense has to step up and start carrying their load. All right, Tommy, we got less than 2 minutes left. Who's the guy today for the Tar Heels?
Nate McCullum.
Nate McCullum?
Nate McCullum on offense.
Does he need to be catching passes, or can they be stretching him in running a little sweep action, a little end around type stuff, little wide receiver screen? What are you looking for?
Well, I think 100% they'll use some jets and use some of those plays to get him in space early. But I think somebody needs to stretch the field. And I think Nate's ability to occupy guys underneath or allow somebody like Kobe, even J.J. Jones, maybe Andre Green Jr., maybe Gavin Blackwell to stretch the field deep.
A little hitch and go would be nice, too, against a nickelback.
Well, the thing is that, and this is what we talked about with a guy like Josh Downs, gravity.
Right.
You suck guys into you. It's like a black hole. You suck multiple defensive players. North Carolina, until today, hadn't really had anybody in that, in that wide receivers. Now, the tight ends are a different story. We haven't talked about them all game or all show. Copenhaver, he's got the ability to catch passes with his bad hand, but Morales and Nesbitt, you've got to create underneath gravity for somebody to get over the top and force their safeties to come down. They've got a great safety, and his name escapes me, but you will hear his name called repeatedly. Force him to have to come down and defend underneath stuff, to defend the run, and then somebody gets over the top. I think that's the key for North Carolina. And then on the defensive side, make the tackles when you have the opportunity to make a tackle.
Yeah, and I'm going to rip off what you said last week too, man. Play a clean game today. You just can't give Minnesota extra life. You cannot give them extra possessions. You can't give them extra snaps. I've said it 100 times in the last 2 hours. They're going to try to suck the life out of the stadium. North Carolina needs to be clean when that happens. If they do, and if they can create some havoc by making some turnovers once or twice, I think Tar Heel fans will be happy today. But look, man, we couldn't have asked for a better afternoon out here in the Bowls lot. We're getting ready to sign off, hand it to the guys over at the Tar Heel Radio Network. I want to say a special thanks to AJ and Jordan and John Siegley for being here on site and holding it down. Special thanks to Jeff Gordon, Helmet State University, for the nice decoration on our desk here. I want to thank Jason Staples and Jeremiah Holloway and Evan Rogers, as well as Daren Durant for joining us on the show. We appreciate it. Johnny T-Shirt for sponsoring. But until next time, be sure you check out the day after tomorrow with Tommy and Buck and Staples. This has been Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.